I bought 40 acres to build a quiet life. Instead, I woke up one morning to find 54 homes sitting on my land, built by an HOA that thought I'd never notice. They had permits. They had lawyers. What they didn't have was the one document that was about to end them. And if you haven't subscribed to HOA Breakpoints yet, now's the perfect time. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because you definitely don't want to miss the next story. Trust me, it gets even crazier from here. The morning it happened, I remember the smell of coffee still sitting untouched on my counter going cold because I never got the chance to drink it. I'd driven out to check on my land, 40 acres I'd inherited from my grandfather, tucked along the edge of a growing subdivision called Brookstone Hills. It was supposed to be empty. Just grass, a dirt access road, and the old fence line my grandfather built with his own hands. Instead, I stood at the edge of my property and stared at 54 homes. Not under construction. Finished, mailboxes installed, sprinkler systems running. Actual families already unpacking moving trucks like this was completely normal, like this land had always belonged to them. I remember thinking, this has to be a mistake. Maybe I'm on the wrong road. Maybe the GP's glitched. But no, right there, nailed into a fence post that used to mark my property line, was a sign, "Welcome to Brookstone Hills HOA Phase 4. Phase 4 was sitting on my inheritance. And here's the part that still gives me chills. The HOA didn't just build on my land by accident. There was a document buried in the county archive that proved they knew exactly what they were doing, and I wouldn't find it until it was almost too late. But let's back up. My grandfather bought this land in 1987, long before Brookstone Hills existed. He used to say that land was the one thing nobody could talk you out of, because it doesn't lie. The deed either says your name or it doesn't. When he passed, the property went to me. I hadn't visited in almost 2 years because I was finishing grad school out of state. Big mistake, because apparently 2 years was all the HOA needed. When I called the HOA office, expecting a simple mix-up, a woman named Denise answered like she'd been rehearsed for this exact call. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but that parcel has been part of our development plan since 2022. You'll need to speak to our legal team." Legal team. For a mix-up. That's when I knew this wasn't a mistake, it was a decision. I drove straight to their community office, a beige building with a fountain out front that probably cost more than my grandfather's original mortgage. The HOA board president, a man named Gary Holloway, met me with a smile so practiced it felt rehearsed too. "Ma'am, I understand this is upsetting, but our surveyors confirmed the boundary lines years ago. Everything here was done by the book. I asked to see the survey. He said it would take time to locate. I asked for the original deed comparison. He said their attorney would reach out. Every question I asked got the same answer: wait, we'll get back to you." I want you to remember that word wait, because in about 4 minutes you're going to understand exactly why they wanted me to wait. And once you hear what I found buried in that county archive, you'll understand why 54 families were about to have the worst week of their lives. For 3 days, I got nothing but silence. So I did what anyone with a law school best friend does. I called her. Her name is Priya, and she's the kind of person who reads property law for fun. I sent her everything: my grandfather's original 1987 deed, the county plat maps, and screenshots of Brookstone Hills' website boasting about their master-planned Phase 4 expansion. 2 days later, she called me, and her voice had a tone I'd never heard from her before, somewhere between excited and furious. "They knew," she said. "Your grandfather's deed was recorded and never released. There's no transfer, no easement, no purchase agreement, nothing. They just built on it." But that wasn't even the wildest part. Priya pulled the HOA's internal development file, which, thanks to public records law, was accessible, and found an email chain from 2021. In it, their surveyor flagged the exact boundary conflict. Someone on the development team wrote back, "Proceed anyway. Cheaper to build now and settle later if she ever comes back." They had known. And they built 54 homes anyway, betting that I'd never show up to stop them. That's when calm turned into something else entirely. I didn't scream. I didn't threaten anyone. I did something much more effective. I documented everything. filed it with the county, and had Priya draft a formal notice of trespass and unauthorized construction on private property. Then I did the thing that made this story blow up online. I stood at the edge of Phase 4 with a stack of papers in my hand, knocked on Gary Holloway's office door, and told him plainly, "You have 24 hours to begin removal proceedings, or I file for immediate injunctive relief and structural removal at your expense. Every home on this land is sitting on my deed, not yours." The color drained from his face. For the first time since this nightmare started, he was the one who needed to wait. That night, Brookstone Hill's private Facebook group exploded. Homeowners' actual families who had no idea any of this was happening started demanding answers from the HOA board. Some accused the board of fraud. Others started reaching out to me directly, terrified they were about to lose their homes over decisions they never made. I want to be clear, I never wanted innocent families to suffer. My fight was with the HOA, not the people who trusted them. The next morning, exactly within my 24-hour window, the HOA's attorney called Priya requesting an emergency negotiation. They knew if this went to court, the email chain alone would bury them: fraudulent misrepresentation, deliberate trespass, and construction on unpermitted land. Their insurance carrier would run for the hills the moment discovery began. So they folded. The settlement wasn't just money. It was full legal transfer of my original property boundaries, a structured buyout for the land beneath 12 of the homes closest to my property line, and public disclosure to affected homeowners about what the board had done. Gary Holloway resigned within the month. Denise, oddly enough, was the one who later sent me a private apology, admitting she didn't know the full truth when she brushed me off that first day. As for the land my grandfather left me, it's mine again, boundary lines restored, county records corrected, and a fresh, very legal fence marking exactly where Brookstone Hill's authority ends, and mine begins. But this wasn't even the craziest HOA story I've uncovered. Because next week, I'm telling you about the HOA that tried to fine a disabled veteran $500 a day for parking his own accessibility van in his own driveway, and what happened when his neighbors found out. If you don't want to miss it, make sure you're subscribed to HOA Breakpoints with notifications on, because trust me, that one gets even worse.